Turkey, home of the Ottoman Empire, Constantinople, ancient civilizations, and some of the finest weapon makers history has seen. But history doesn't protect you today. Owning a gun here isn't a right. It's a permission slip, a favor the state can revoke overnight. We're pulling the trigger on a story most people are too afraid to touch: how Turkey's gun laws turn self-defense into state defense. Stay tuned, this one's loaded. Chapter 1. Turkish gun history and control. The lands that make up modern Turkey were no strangers to firearms. In the 15th century, the Ottoman military adopted early handguns and muskets, including the shakalos hand cannons, as part of their infantry arsenal. As centuries passed, Ottoman armories, arms workshops, and weapon innovation became part of the state's power apparatus. But while the state wielded arms, the average subject, especially non-Muslim populations and city dwellers, often faced curbs on weapons. In many urban zones, the ruled population, also known as the Ria, were restricted from openly carrying arms, and local authorities and the elites, called the askari, enforced confiscations or bans. With the collapse of the empire and the birth of the Turkish Republic, 1923, many Ottoman control habits persisted, though firearm rules remained patchwork, local, and inconsistent, rooted in legacy Ottoman practices more than a unified law. Then came 1953. The Turkish government passed Law 6136, Firearms, Knives, and Other Tools Act. This law centralized arms regulation for the entire republic, replacing older informal systems with a comprehensive permit structure. It marked a turning point. The state was no longer a distant overseer of arms. It became the gatekeeper. Every amendment after, especially through waves of terror in the 80s and 90s, gradually tightened the gate. The logic behind each tightening: order and calm streets, and more subtly, reinforcing that the power to carry a weapon would always flow from government, not from individual rights. Today, Law 6136 still sits at the foundation of Turkish gun law, with regulation additions on who may apply, how it's stored, and more. A reminder that in this land, having a firearm is less about legacy or culture and more about the state's permission. And before we go any deeper, if you believe that the right to bear arms comes from the people, not the government, drop a 2A in the comments right now. Even if you're not American and you believe it, write 2A below. Chapter 2. Owning a gun versus carrying a gun in Turkey. Turkish law draws a sharp distinction between having a firearm and bearing it in public. Under Law 6136, there are two tracks: bulundurma, which is possession and keeping. You can own a firearm, store it at home, at your place of business, but it must remain where the law permits. And taşıma, that's carry and transport, public carrying. This is your permission to bring it with you outside, a far narrower, heavily regulated lane. On paper, simple. In reality, night and day. The carry permit is reserved for the few the state deems worthy. You won't see it issued for self-defense claims alone. Instead, those who receive it tend to be judges, prosecutors, elected officials, high-value business owners, that's jewelers, bankers, etc., security or VIPs, people who can document real credible threats. Everyone else, you may be allowed possession, but only in place. What makes carry so blocked in practice? Applicants usually need to prove necessity, letters, threat assessments, business risk, or get law enforcement backing. Even when granted, carry may be restricted to specific times, zones, or types of weapons. Many permits are conditional and revocable at state discretion. You often need to re-justify the need at renewal. Even permit holders can't take their firearms anywhere. Courts, schools, airports, protest zones, and other sensitive areas are completely off limits. Applying for carry isn't cheap. The state sets high fees, requires deeper documentation, and often filters applicants by social standing or influence. The process alone weeds out many ordinary citizens. Most citizens stop right here, because the next step isn't just an application. It's a background check into your life, your mind, and your loyalty. Chapter 3. Getting a gun license in Turkey. Now, to even touch a firearm legally, you have to navigate a maze that feels less like paperwork and more like a background investigation. You must be 21 or older, a Turkish citizen, have no criminal record, and pass both medical and psychiatric board exams. Every application goes through local law enforcement, the police department in cities, or the gendarmerie command in rural areas. These aren't friendly clerks. They're officers with full discretion to say yes or no. You'll need fingerprints, proof of no outstanding taxes, residency documents, passport photos, and a hefty government fee. Between the doctor's exams and the administrative fees, most applicants end up paying tens of thousands in Turkish lira, which in dollars is like up to $1,000, I believe. Then you wait weeks, sometimes months, while the state combs through your background, your job, and even your reputation. Denials are often quiet. A file marked not suitable, and that's that. No explanation, and they won't even reach out to you most likely. While appeals exist in theory, they rarely overturn in decision. If you make it through, your license lasts 5 years. Miss renewals by 6 months, and it's void. You start over from scratch. This isn't a shell issue. This is if they like you. But even after all of that, your freedom stops at the front door. Because next, we'll look at what you can and can't buy once you finally get approved. Chapter 4, Buying and Ammo Limits in Turkey. Once the state finally says yes, you learn just how far the permission really goes. You can't just walk in and buy whatever you want. You have to purchase from an approved dealer. Then you've got 60 days to register that serial number to your name. Miss that window, boom, criminal offense. Paperwork, not bullets, gets you arrested. And ammunition. Until a few years ago, civilians were capped at around 200 rounds per year. 200, that's one regular day at the range for me. Then in 2019, the Interior Ministry, quote unquote, expanded it to 1,000 rounds per licensed gun. But don't celebrate your Turkish butts yet. Ammunition is tightly regulated. You don't grab a box off a shelf, you file an online request for a purchase authorization code, wait for approval, then pick up your ammo from an approved seller, while the state quietly adds another line to your record. Even your ammo has paperwork. And next, we'll see what happens when that permission runs out and how fast non-compliance becomes prison time. Chapter 5, Turkish gun penalties and prison time. Under Article 13 of Law 6136, carrying or even possessing an unlicensed firearm means 1 to 3 years in prison plus fines. If that weapon's automatic or considered aggravated, the sentence jumps 5 to 8 years behind bars. And it doesn't stop at guns. A few loose bullets, 6 months. 50 rounds, a year. 200 or more, 3 years. Carry any of that into a courthouse, airport, or school, the sentence doubles. Every year, people serve real time for possession alone. Not for using it, not for threatening anyone, just for owning what the state didn't approve. This isn't about safety, it's about control and fear. Because when the punishment is this harsh, you don't need surveillance. You've already trained the people to police themselves. It's how a right becomes a risk, how citizens stay silent and criminals stay armed. And if the price of owning is prison, what happens when you actually use the gun to save your life? Chapter 6, Self-defense under pressure in Turkey. Turkey's penal code recognizes something called meşru müdafaa, the right to self-defense. Sounds simple, but in Turkey, nothing about freedom is simple. You can only use deadly force if it's both proportionate and immediate. If the threat hasn't fully unfolded, or if you end it too effectively, the prosecutor can still charge you. Even if licensed gun owners have stood trial for defending their own homes, because if the firearm used wasn't the one legally registered to your name, prosecutors can still treat that act as unlawful possession. So yes, you have the right to defend yourself as long as you don't actually have to. When every trigger pull could end your life one way or another, you start asking yourself the wrong question. Not, what if I don't shoot, but what if I do? That hesitation is the real control, and that's the moment where the law stops protecting you and starts protecting the state. Chapter 7, Turkish reality versus Turkish law. Officially, Turkey says there are 4 million licensed guns in the country. Unofficially, estimates suggest unregistered guns may outnumber legal ones by several times. Some say many millions circulate outside the system. Weapons pour in from Syria, from the Balkans, and through a black market that never sleeps. Blank firing pistols get converted back to live weapons. Smugglers feed the demand the state refuses to recognize. The result, criminals stay armed, citizens stay tangled in paperwork, and the numbers prove it. In 2023 alone, there were over 3,700 armed attacks across Turkey, more than 2,300 people killed, thousands wounded. Since 2014, the country has seen 34,000 incidents, leaving 21,000 dead and 31,000 injured. That's not theory. That's the consequence of a monopoly on force. When law-abiding citizens need permission to defend themselves and the criminals don't bother asking, well, you don't have peace, you have a power gap. The truth is simple. You can't ban demand. You can only decide who gets supply. And in Turkey, supply flows to those who ignore the law, while everyone who follows it lives in fear of breaking it. That's the difference between law and reality. One lives on paper, the other carries a gun. Chapter 8: Turkish Culture and Control. There are two Turkeys. In one, a shotgun passed from father to son is a symbol of honor, protection, tradition, pride. In the other, the same gun is a problem to be managed, licensed, and logged. Suspicion. In rural towns, a firearm means family. In cities, it means risk. And somewhere between those two worlds, freedom gets lost in translation. The state calls ownership a privilege, not a right. After decades of coups, terror attacks, and political unrest, many Turks have grown accustomed to trading liberty for what feels like stability, a balance the government is careful to maintain. And that's how freedom fades, one small right at a time. Now, a new amendment aims to double the minimum prison sentence for illegal possession and tighten control on ammunition and reloading supplies. The government calls it national security. The people call it the next tightening of the leash. Turkey shows what happens when gun ownership isn't a right, it's a permission slip. Every bullet, every holster, every renewal is an act of government grace. For the Americans, if your government did this to you, would you obey or would you fight for your right to carry? Comment fight or spread cheeks depending on what side you're on. On another note, if you believe carrying should be comfortable, practical, and your choice, check out our concealed carry joggers and athletic shorts linked below, or go to relaxedfittactical.com, also linked in the description. Stay sharp, stay free, and don't be lame. Subscribe.